Hey and howdy everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Jeannie with Paper Pixie Ink, and today we are going to get started on tutorial number 1 for our Alice's Tea Party mini album. Alright, so we have all of our pages finished. Apparently not all facing the same way. Get them all going the same way before we screw that up. So before we attach these to this, I'm going to build out all of my pages first, and then I'll attach them, and then I'm going to decorate them. So let's go ahead and get started with what we're going to do for the inside front cover. So the base part of that is going to be 2 pieces of black cardstock. And all we're going to do, so because we're building this out, I'm going to make it slightly smaller than the cover. So the cover is 8.5, so I'm going to make these 8.25. And then I'm also going to make this 8.25, as you can see here. So what we need to do is we need to cut 2 pieces for either side here so that this opens like this. And we're going to cut them to 8.25 this way by 4 1/8 plus 1/2 inch. So because we're going to do, this is 8.25, half of 8.25 is 4 1/8, and then we need a 1/2 inch tab to be able to attach them. So 4 5/8 of an inch wide. So 4 5/8 of an inch and 4 5/8 of an inch. Put that to the side, and then we're also going to cut this so that it's 8.25. And 8.25, and then we're going to score at 1/2 inch. So score, and score. Put that to the side for now. And we're going to fold and burnish. And then we're going to fold and burnish. So this will be like this. So now we're going to make the little pockets that go on here. So to make those, so in this one, I made them a little bit smaller than the width of it, but I think I'm just going to leave it roughly the same width. So we're going to grab some cardstock, and we are going to cut it. Let's see. So we made this 3 3/4. So let's keep that the same. So it's going to be 3 3/4 plus 1/2, so 4 1/4. So if we do it the other way as well, let's do 4 1/4. So we're going to make this 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then we are going to make this a 1/2 inch on 2 sides. So score a 1/2 inch and then score a 1/2 inch, and we're going to do that with the other one as well. And then this needs to be cut. I mean, you don't have to cut it, I just like how it looks. So to do that, it looks like I did 2 inches and 1 3/4 inches. Not sure why I did that, but let's do 2 inches and 2 inches. So that would be 2 inches here, and then 2 inches this way. So we will have 1 3/4 inch there and 1 3/4 inch there, give or take a millimeter or 2. I'm actually measuring, which I almost never do. So let's see if we can do both of these at the same time. So just make sure that you've got these lined up as much as possible if you're going to do both of them at the same time. And I'm going to line up my little pencil marks so that I know that I'm going to slice right through it and then cut. So those will become our 2 little pockets. So I'm just going to cut these off. And you can trim these edges a little bit if you want, so that when you fold them over they won't show through. They shouldn't show. This doesn't really hurt. So let's go ahead and fold those and burnish them. So these are the pieces that we will need for the inside front cover. So these are just going to be just like this. And I think that'll work well. So I'm just going to grab some paper clips. Probably won't need all these, but I just want to keep everything clipped together that goes together so I don't get confused by any of my pages. So the next thing that we're going to do is create the waterfall for this. Now I made this, it's 5.5 by 4, and there's 5 of these. The last one is the tab. So I'm going to grab some more cardstock. And they are 5.5 by 4. So I'm going to cut 2 at the same time, and I'm going to cut them to 5.5. And then I'm just going to double check and make sure that this is the same size. And then I'm going to cut these to 4. So I'm going to cut all 4 at the same time. So 4. Alright, so those are the 4 that we need. Guess I didn't have to do 2 at a time. And then the next thing that I'm going to do I'm going to cut this in half again at 5.5, so 5.5. And then I'm going to grab my scoreboard because I want to make sure that these are very, very straight. I'm going to grab my stylus tool and I'm just going to lay this in here nice and flat, and I'm going to score 4 times because I have 4 of these. So 1, and I'm scoring at 1/2 inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to burnish. I'm going to burnish these so that they're nice and straight and even, and I'm going to burnish them as flat as I can because this will be our pulling mechanism for a waterfall. All right. So I'm going to flip it over, and starting with this first one, I'm going to apply some liquid adhesive. And I am just going to lay this down right along the edge of our score line. And then I'm just going to make sure that it's well stuck. And then I'm going to move on to the second section. And lay my next one down. I'm going to try and make sure that this is lined up as well as I can make it. Press it down. Moving on to the third. Again, right up at the score line. Make sure these are lined up as well as we can. Press it down, varnish, and this is our last one. So there's that. So that's how that will work. Now this piece that we just glued those 4 to is too long this way, so we need to cut about 1/2 inch off of this because you want your last tab, which will be the 5th one, to be this roughly the same size as these. That's 1/2 inch. So this will be our waterfall, and then to be able to make the waterfall actually work, we'll need to make the little band that will hold this. So we know this is 5.5 inches. So I'm just going to take one of the strips that I have from some of my other cuts, and it's not going to be long enough to make a complete band with it because this is 5.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to the 3-inch mark, and I'm going to score. And then I'm going to line my score line up with about the that's fun, with about the 5 1/8 mark. Or 5 and 5/8 mark, because I need 5.5 because this is 5.5, but I also want to leave a little extra space so that this can actually move within that band. So I'm going to add an extra 1/8 of an inch, so roughly 5 5/8, and I'm just going to score there. And then obviously, because this isn't quite long enough to be able to attach them together, I am going to take another piece that I had in my stash or in my scraps, and I'm just going to use it to glue them together. You could use like a 12-inch long piece, or you could just cut another piece. There's lots of different ways that you can do this. I just like to create it so that whatever my seam is, however I end up making my seam, that it's going to be on the back. I'm going to put that aside, and I'm just going to burnish my scores so that it lies relatively flat. And I am just going to apply some glue on roughly either side, because you do not want to glue your band together. Let's just do it, whoops, do it this way. Glue on that side, then we'll flip this over and we'll glue that side. And then I'm just going to burnish it down really, really well, because I want to make sure that it's really stuck. And then just double check and make sure that you haven't accidentally glued this together. So this goes like this. And this piece here is going to be attached to the back of whatever your last one is here. So when you flip it over, it will be this one. So, and you want it to be kind of centered on that one-ish. And again, I always just eyeball everything. You can measure. Just gonna even this up a little bit. And then I am going to put some glue on here. You don't want to put it all the way to the edge, because that edge is going to show. And you don't want a bunch of glue leaking out either, because you do not want to glue your waterfall together accidentally. I have done it before. It sucks because then you have to do it all over again. And then I'm going to bring this down, and I'm just going to press it down so that it is stuck to that band. And then to attach it, we're just going to put glue on the back of this band. Again, making sure that you don't get it, you know, outside of it. And it's just going to work just like that. So we're going to put this to the side because we're not ready to attach it yet. And then for our next page, we had mirrored images where we're just using 2 of our journaling cards. So in our next tutorial, we will create the base design for the back of the first page, the front of the second page, the back of the second page, and the front of the third page. So stay tuned for that, and please don't forget to subscribe if you want to get notified when I have new videos available. Thanks, everyone!